I just put this slide together quite quickly, and because of my mood at the moment or whatever else it might be, I've decided to refer to it as strategic attack. And I think you can do that with the reading, and to some extent you should do that with the reading. And that's because I think you need to take control of it, because it can be nasty, and if you're not well prepared, then it can take control of you and cause you to slip up in ways that may be denying you a half a point, and who knows, even a point in some cases. I think that you need to plan your entire approach to the whole of the reading, all three passages. So by that, what I mean, when you open the booklet, you check all three passages first. It's the first thing you do, and you are scanning them and skimming them to some extent, but very, very loosely. What you're looking at is the length of the text, how dense they are, the paragraph sizes, things like that. Look at how many capitals there are, things like MOD, UN, WHO, these sorts of things, because they're always good guidance for you. If there's dates, quite a few dates and names of people or places, then this, as you'll see as you practice, because these are the sorts of places where answers are likely to be found. So this may have some bearing on the way you grade a particular text. So this is very quick that you're doing, a matter of seconds really, just initial first impressions. Then you look at each paper, and by the time you've reached passage 3 to look at the length of it, so now you look at the questions on passage 3 and go backwards. What types of questions do you have, and which ones do you dislike most? I think I initially wrote, which ones do you like? And then I was thinking, well, there's probably not that many that they genuinely like, but hopefully that could be the case. Are there questions out there that you like? Anyway, I'd settled here with which you dislike most, and therefore you grade each of the passages based on the question types that are there, because I think there's too much reference to passage, the use of the word, and it should be questions really. That should be the main area of your concentration, because you can receive any type of question in any of the passages. There's some that come up more often in particular passages, but if you happen to be good at that particular type, it could be a passage 3 style question, if you like, but that you happen to be very good at, or that you enjoy doing, and as a result you might feel that that's a bit more attractive than a particular set of questions that you don't like that appear on passage 1. So I'm saying that you should view these passages as a whole and as individuals. So which of the questions do you dislike the most, and therefore you grade each paper as which looks easiest, or less difficult if you like, which one looks just attractive, or intuitively you have a gut feeling, I'll go for this one. But what I think is important here is you're making a choice. You're making not a choice, a decision. You are taking control of it right from the beginning, and you're saying to it, okay pal, you've got some hard stuff for me here to deal with, however we're going to do this on my terms as much as possible, and the only way you can force your terms upon it is to take control of it, which means that you need to consider these points. So now you've decided on the paper, and then in effect you would come up with your, am I doing 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, whatever permutations exist there. There should be 9 permutations, shouldn't there? 3 times 3. So there's 9 ways that you can attack the IELTS reading. Now, that surely must mean that there has to be an alternative to section 1, passage 1, section 1, then section 2, section 3. You don't have to do it that way. And who says that's the right way to do it? For example, headings questions, which personally I don't like, so I wouldn't be surprised to hear if a few other students out there, several of my students have voiced their agreement that they are not the funniest. And if, for example, they were part 3 questions, section 3 in a paper, the question would still be there whether they were worth doing first, because then you'd get a better idea of the text in order to answer the other questions. Because now, doing the headings, you're going to get a rough idea of the whole paper, or the whole passage. And these sorts of decisions should be made. And if you can feel that you are making tactically wise decisions as to passage order and question order, and you know why you are doing a particular passage or a particular set of questions at any particular time, then you will feel calmer about what you are doing. And what's also important with this is that you continue to monitor the time. Time goes hand in hand with this particular approach, as indeed any approach ought to have, but there must be a major stress on the time. And therefore, it's very much in your interest to take a wristwatch, to make sure that you are wearing a wristwatch on the day of the IELTS exam, because a lot of us rely on our telephones, or a lot of you rely on telephones for the time, and there are less and less wristwatches being worn. However, on IELTS day, it would be a very wise decision, because you can take the wristwatch off, place it in front of you on your desk, and you have got instant access to time, and you're not sat with some clock that's behind you, or that might not even be there. There's no actual requirement to provide timekeeping. So you are in command of the timekeeping. So with a wristwatch down on the table, you're in business. Okay, so you've decided now, well, which one you're doing first, then you will re-evaluate after passage 1. Now that you've decided on which passage you're going to do first, now you decide what order you're going to do the questions. And as I pointed out there, for example, with headings questions, if they're not the first set, then maybe you should consider doing them first. One, because they're very difficult to guess. They're the worst ones for guessing, because if you were to answer B for all 6, if it's okay, if there's 6 of them, you can only get 1 right, and that is if B happens to be one of the actual answers, because invariably there are, well, if there were 6 answers, you'd probably have 9 choices, so you might get 0. So they're very unguessable. So like it or not, you actually ought and need to do headings if they come your way without guessing them. So therefore you do them first. 1, because they are unguessable, and 2, because you get an idea of the text. And now, as you go through the remaining questions, you might have a better idea as to where the answers are located, because you've already skimmed over it. So in doing the headings, incidentally, I think it would probably end up on some other video, but there again it might not. But you're aware that what you do is you read the first sentence of the paragraph and the last sentence of the paragraph. And basically the idea is that the first line is an introduction, so it should mention, if it's long enough, it should mention the subject matter that's coming in the paragraph. And then by looking at the final one, that in effect is the conclusion of the paragraph, you see how they relate to each other, and then you can hazard a guess, or no, I should be using different language there. You can come up with your idea of what the topic of that particular paragraph is. Now, if the paragraphs are long, it's often a nice idea to look in the middle as well, the middle sentence, because there is a theory that, in fact, looking at the middle sentence of any of the paragraphs is a wise idea, because in fact the middle is where they are talking about the very thing they are talking about. So instead of just going for first and last and making an estimation, the middle is actually talking about the point. So that is also an angle. You can, if you're a quick reader, you might decide that you want to do all three, or if you're, as you're practicing, practice by doing headings, but doing it with first and last, and then do it with middle. And for example, middle and last could be good as well. So you see, there's lots of little decisions that you can take command of, and as a result establish at least a form of confidence that is going to help you with the reading, if not with the other sections also, but particularly with this reading, because it's always such a shame to see people who have scored what they required in 3 sections and they drop below with the reading, and now they have to go and do the whole thing again because the university that they're applying to requires, for example, 7 across the board or 6.5 or whatever it might be, and they've slipped below, and invariably it's with the reading, and it's because it's not approached well. It's skim and scan, look for keywords, and then you're pretty much then left to it from there. You then do exercises, but what's important with those exercises is you need to increase your speed, not just to do more of them. You need to get the speed up